What is up, guys? Today I'm gonna talk about universal biology and culture, kind of going to the four quadrants that I've already talked about in a lot of my videos, but not connecting it to something more macro. The four quadrant is already a macro patterns, but I will illustrate it with culture, biology, and all that. I think it's kind of a subject that I'm going to recently, like more history with genetics, and how certain ideas affect it, and how it progressed through history. So I already talked about some stuff about that like the hierarchies, cycles, political cycles, the Hegel thesis. Antithesis and synthesis. You can see more like the positive, the first thing, or the counter aspect, and synthesis is more like the equal sign, like those two merging together to represent a certain whole. So in my fourth quadrant, I have more this one that is innate. This one is more the system, you can see, and this one more the universal. This one is more like an experience. So in some quadrants, it's actually the tree that is the culture. The culture, in my sense, is more the meeting of those two. Because this one is precise, external. This one is internal. And this one is more like global or macro or universal in some sense. So biology as a whole is more something that we discover in mechanics. Kind of go between all the systems in a way, but kind of narrow down in that system. It's more something you observe in the precise that is external. So the meeting of the universal mechanics, or like biology meeting collective intelligence, you can see collective intelligence. Which in the most profound sense might be more collective unconscious or more the culture aspect. It's more like culture / collective unconscious. That kind of patterns there. So often you traverse stuff, like people, they will either stamp it as biology, sometimes it's a cultural process, but it's actually a playing between all those. So it might start with biology, so it go to the individual, so it will go to the universal, after to the experience, kind of more an external experience. And that will create kind of the process of integration. So that might seem like a complicated idea, but it's more like that those add themselves up and they create a synthesis. They go through all the quadrant, and then precise subject like culture, biology, they each have their own places, but they communicate and it create kind of another branch that is either more about an integration of more process, and the whole will be the integration as a whole, but still as a process. So it's very an Hegelian idea, and something to take into account when people talk about the Bible or culture or biology. Just within one lens, one quadrant, all the whole thing is actually to go through the different aspects and how they interact with each other. So the biology is not just a mere abstraction of precise external, but also a cultural aspect that can be lived, or an innate experience, or multiple system kind of doing some kind of external matrix that can be observed. So it's more in that kind of fashion that I want to illustrate the process of integrating the different side of a particular subject, and meets more in the sense of the biology, which is doing a certain experience, and that will create a culture, and that culture has a external pattern. And this thing is kind of a cycle that is doing a loop. If that's clear enough, which is more something of a process of integration. So yeah, thanks for watching. That was a short video just to illustrate some ideas that I already talked about that, but more in different setting, the 4 quadrant, the thesis, antithesis. And maybe I talk about the culture aspect, but not so much. I think that connecting those kind of 3 perspectives together that I did in one video each can reflect something interesting. So thanks for watching.